we basically had an overview on SAP S/4HANA. We talked about how SAP S/4HANA differs from ECC, what all things change here, and then how likely when we shift to S/4HANA, what all things are we need to take care of. We discussed about the authentication protocols, the authorization protocols, and about the role-based access controls, what all things are available in S/4HANA which can be enhanced to make sure that we are leveraging the benefit of S/4HANA if we go for any version, be it private cloud, public cloud, to the maximum. We also discussed about the least privilege model, that how least privilege model is something which you can try to put in your client landscape in an effective way in order to ensure that the kind of access which you provide is effective, and then the users are able to not misuse the privileged access which they are getting. We also talked about the how you can secure your SAP landscape and what all things are there which you need to consider in order to ensure that your entire landscape is secure and free from threats. What all proactive measures we can do in order to ensure that our system is free from threats, and then we are ensuring that the system is not available for a mishandling by the other users. Then we discuss the importance of SSO and MFA, that how you can leverage the SSO and MFA, what all things are available in the market right now, what all things are you guys using in currently in your client landscape, and what all things we can club with the help of the SAP provided tools such as cloud identity services, identity authentication services, what all things can be leveraged. We did a discussion on that as well. So we also discussed in previous sessions on the emerging technologies which are available and how are they embedded into the SAP landscape, what all things is SAP doing right now to ensure that all the new capabilities which are emerging, those are embedded. Like this weekend, I had a chance to go to an SAP hosted event called as SAP Insight Track. So it happened in Bangalore, basically. So they showcase some really amazing artificial intelligence tools which they are developing. So and then how they are planning to embed it in different SAP products which they are launching. So mostly it was around the cloud products itself, like success factors, and they also talked about various things which they can embed in SAP and Analytics Cloud, which is kind of a B2B for cloud, you can say. So so all these things which we discussed about, they basically showcase that how they are planning to leverage it, and then what all things can we use it in a direct way in order to ensure that we are developing the tools. So what SAP emphasized on, that they are providing us a platform, but how to do it and then how we can manage it is something that we need to work upon by discussing with our clients and then learning how to leverage the tools. So many things which they are providing will act as a platform where we'll need to work upon and then ensure that we are developing assets which are helpful for our respective clients and the respective industries which we are working on. So we discussed about access control, the segregation of duties, the tools available right now for governing it. So we'll be basically talking about some of the features of like why is security required for the ERP system. Then we'll be going through the brief overview of the greenfield, brownfield implementations, and then post in the second half, we'll be going through the Fiori apps library again. I'll be showing you what all things you need to take care when it comes to implementation of any Fiori application. We'll be having an overview of what the groups available, the catalogs available, what are OData services when you go to Fiori apps library, what are SICF services. We'll be just going through that in the second half so that you get an overview of that as well. And then I think, have all of you checked your access? Is it working fine in SAP? Because in this week we'll be having lab sessions. So once the labs are ready, I mean the team is working on creating the lab. So you'll be given some assignments where you'll need to work in the system, and then you'll need to make sure that the labs are done, and then if there are any issues we can discuss that in the class. So I think most probably in this session, not in this, I mean in this week we'll be starting with the labs as well. When we say about securing the digital core of ERP, I mean what do you understand by it? Any queries or not queries? I mean, any thoughts, anyone? Like why we are discussing all of this, why we need to secure our digital ERP, the core of ERP. what all things come to your mind whenever we are doing this?
Maybe the data getting secured, like from migration from ECC to S4 at that time, the main processing data would be there in the ERP, so that should be secured. I mean, I feel.
Yes, yes, Chaitra, correct. So yeah, the one of the major things is definitely the data. So we need to make sure that whenever we are migrating from ECC to S4HANA, the data, particularly the sensitive data, is something which we take care of and then it is secured. So that's definitely one of the things which we need to take care. So yeah, so if we talk about more about it, then it's about your critical business data and the all the business processes which we have inside our SAP system. That's something which we need to take care of. So that's where the security starts in. Otherwise, we already have a lot of tools available which can help us migrate directly. But then, as from a security standpoint, we need to ensure that it's not only migration which is happening, it's also the data which we are securing in a efficient way so that it allows you a seamless migration experience. And in the as for HANA, you don't experience any issues with respect to your master data or your any business process related things which you have already done in your ECC system. So then we discussed about the confidentiality, integrity, and availability, the CIA triad. So the same thing is applicable here as well. So we need to ensure that the data which we are migrating is available and it is confidentiality is maintained for it. There is no only the relevant people are allowed access to the sensitive data, if we can say, and the kind of restriction which we had in ECC, we need to ensure that the same level of restriction goes in the S4 HANA as well. So if we discuss about some of the key components, if we talk about it, then we have access control and identity management. So we have direct tools available from SAP as well. If we talk about access control, we have GRC access control, which is directly can be plugged in with your SAP ECC and S4 HANA both system. So that is something which you can use. There are some outside tools also available in the market which any of you would have worked upon. So we have like SailPoint is available. If we talk about cloud, then we have PathLock available. We have some Microsoft tools as well, which are available, which can be used. So it depends on your client that what kind of access control tool he is looking for. So we need to ensure that we have that in place because that's something which synchronizes well with the SAP system or the kind of security we are trying to embed in. And yeah, so this is something which we need to ensure that we are covering. Then comes the data encryption and protection. So we have discussed about this as well. So when it comes to data encryption, we need to ensure that while migrating the sensitive data, we are encrypting it, we are anonymizing it, or whenever the testers are testing it in the development system, they are not getting exposure to the direct financial data or the sensitive data which is available in the production system. So this is something which we need to take care of. Then comes your audit logging and monitoring. So we need to ensure that your audit logging is enabled. So and your monitoring mechanism is again effective enough to ensure that any kind of an anomaly is happening in your system raises a flag, and this is something which we definitely need to take care of. Then comes your compliance and governance. So this is again when we talk about GRC, so we already have very compliant mechanism which is available, which we need to talk about. And when it comes to governance, yeah, definitely. The GRC stands for governance, risk, and compliance. So governance is the top priority when it comes to securing your SAP system. So in terms of the entire components which we have listed, all of them are equally allowed to be enter in your SAP system, and then it protects your system. And then it ensures that there are no anomalies happening which is not paid attention to. So we need to ensure the right kind of mechanisms are enabled. Some of the advantages, if we talk about, it's definitely securing our financial and operational data. That's something we need to do. There are various challenges also, which we need to ensure that we are covering it whenever we try to design the migration of our ECC to S4 HANA. And when it comes to whenever we talk about the challenges and the importance, it falls basically under your CIA triad again. So we need to ensure that your confidentiality, integrity, availability is something which is taken care of. And then you are managing your SAP systems in the, what can I say, I mean, in the safeguarding overall control of your CIA triad. So that's something which we can say that you need to do. and then there will be various challenges, and then if we are covered in terms of the CIA triad which we discussed, so that is something which will be helpful for us. So yeah, we discussed about your sensitive data protection. This is something which we need to have an additional layer of. And all the regulations are for different type of regions, be it GDPR, be it HIPAA, be it SOX, PCI DSS. This is something which we will hear as in when we take on the security management of any of the clients in multiple regions. So this is something we need to ensure that we are adhering to. So this will help us in making sure the roles we design, the Fiori apps we recommend, the Fiori apps we upgrade as in when the upgrade happens. So these regulations are also met, and then this is taken care of. So business continuity and availability. I mean, this is something which we need to ensure that it is happening as in when the systems are upgrading or there are any bug fixes which we need to do, but all of it should not hamper your business which is ongoing. So your business continuity and availability is something which we need to ensure that it is going on as is. And if there are any upgrades happening or there are anything major which is planned, so we need to ensure that we are doing some proactive measures in order to ensure that your business continuity remains unaffected. So that is something which we definitely need to take care. There can be various attacks like cyber attacks, the denial of service attacks. I mean, all these kind of attacks can happen. But coming to SAP systems, we need to ensure that we are putting the right kind of measures in order to ensure that the system is protected. So, yeah, these were some kind of intellectual property and competitive advantages which we can get if the systems are secure, and we can ensure that any kind of unauthorized access is protected by the SAP itself, and we are getting a red flag, and then we are trying to ensure that the system is protected in a robust way, and all the access management and data classification controls is something which is taken care of in a proper manner. Why do we need to migrate to S/4HANA? I mean, we discussed about a lot of things in the previous slides and the previous discussions as well. So anything from your end, I mean, why do you think we are required to migrate to S/4HANA? What all things comes to your mind? What all things based on our discussions also do you remember that what all are the main reasons that we all need to migrate to S/4HANA?
So first foremost reason is that SAP is ending support of ECC by 2027. That is the most significant reason that we are migrating to S4HANA, and we are getting ready for the cutting edge technology with a new platform like HANA database and the Windows web-based applications and all those things.
Yes, Ankit, totally correct. So the major thing being that SAP is stopping the support of S/4HANA in 2027. The SAP Business Suite like 6 was released, and then there was no release, and then this rumors of S/4HANA came in, and then finally everyone is being emphasized to go for S/4HANA because SAP will stop supporting your ECC from 2027. So any of like assessments if you need to do, any of the bug fixes which you need to do, that will be something which will not be supported by SAP. So that is one of the main reasons. And then definitely when we talk about S/4HANA, so all the new innovations, all the new modifications, all the new upgrades which SAP is providing is aligning with how S/4HANA is placed. So if you need to embed any cloud applications going forward in your client landscape, if you need to embed with any of the non-SAP applications also, if you need to collaborate. So that is something which the S/4HANA is ready to do. And since it has its own database, which is recommended and then mandatory to be used, the HANA-DB, S/4HANA database itself. So it is making your systems more and more efficient, more and more quicker in terms of how you get the data, how you work with the data. So this is something which is definitely an advantage if we compare the ECC to S/4HANA. So again, if we talk about this, so moving to S/4HANA again should align with your company's strategic goals. So this is not something which every company will have like a similar move. So that's where we will be talking about the SAP Rise and the SAP Activate methodologies, that how can it help you, and then how can you try to ensure that every company, be it a pharma company, be it a manufacturing company, be it any logistics company, or any other industry as well, which SAP is currently providing support, ensures that they are moving in a standardized way. So it's not like we just need to move to as S4HANA, so everyone is following their own way and then they are getting stuck at some stage and then they are reaching out to SAP. So that should not be done. So since this was the practice which was being followed for a lot of upgrades previously, which were happening in ECC, or because of the multiple customizations which clients would have done in their ECC environments. So in order to prevent the same mess or same kind of loophole happening, when it comes to S/4HANA. So yeah, this is something which SAP has provided, which is called as RISE with SAP and the SAP Activate methodologies. So these are the some things which we'll see in the coming slides, which we'll need to talk to client about and we'll need to follow it. So this is something which will help us in ensuring that we are not only moving to S/4HANA just because we need to move to it, but yeah, aligning with each company's their unique goals and how are they planning their future with. So that is something which we need to focus on. So when I talk about your like company strategic goals, so if we try to take a real-time example, so currently if we think about a company who is ensuring that they need to move to S/4HANA in order to improve on their decision-making speed and the accuracy speed. So in terms of the technical thing, if we say that the real-time analytic capability is something which that company is aiming for. So we can like take an example for a client which I worked upon. It was a manufacturing firm basically, and they were facing challenges with their again the inventory management and the demand forecasting, which they used to do with ECC. So they decided to move to S/4HANA. So as we talked about the real-time analytic capability which the SAP S/4HANA provides, that was something which they wanted to harness when they tried to plan that move. And as we know that the S/4HANA allows the real-time analytic capability to, so it would instantly access any inventory levels which are there in the hub, any production schedules which are planned, and any customer orders from a like a unified source of truth. So there can be a unified source of truth which can be placed when it comes to S/4HANA, and then it will allow the company to ensure that all their real-time access capabilities is something which they are leveraging, and then it will enable them for a quicker informed decision making and reducing any excess inventories. So that can be an example for a manufacturing firm if they try to migrate to SAP S/4HANA. So next, I think I had given this example earlier as well. If we think about a retail giant like Reliance or any other big firm, if we talk about, so they want to enhance their satisfaction, like the employee satisfaction whenever they use their applications. So they like basically their aim is to ensure that the user experience and efficiency is improved. So with ECC, even the members who are working in the Reliance digital shops, like they have their monitors in front of them, and then they were using the old same EC when it comes to processing your orders, when it comes to giving your receipts for any of your purchases. But when the Reliance planned to move to S/4HANA, so that was something which they aimed on. They wanted to improve the UI. So basically, we already have the Fiori capabilities enabled here, and then they are more and more getting improved with the introduction of multiple new UI interfaces, such as from groups we move to spaces and pages. From spaces and pages, there is a talk of moving to cards now. So there will be new term called as cards, which you will hear about. So in the next few releases, your spaces also, I mean, spaces will continue to be there, but again, cards is something which SAP is launching. So that is like they are working very actively on improving the entire UI interface, which the users faced very difficulty when it came to ECC. And then again, if we talk about ECC, we used to work on GUI. It was not a user friendly, and then basically it was also like slow adaptation rates, we can say it was having, which used to decrease the productivity of any individual who is working on it. So by migrating to S/4HANA, any company will leverage the Fiori-based roles. The user interfaces will improve significantly, and then this will basically lead to the faster adoption of like any new colleague coming in, and then he like a transition happening to him. So we don't need to spend more time in basically trying to give the KT sessions or trying to transfer the knowledge in terms of how the things are being managed, how the things are being handled when it comes to your SAP GUI compared to S/4HANA. So we can say that the reduced training time will also happen when it comes to migration to S/4HANA. and all of it will definitely lead to your increased employee productivity. And again, all of this is being done because the motto is to ensure that the customer impact is increased more and more.
Hey, you know, ZaranTech now offers SAP corporate training. That's right. Train your workforce in SAP with our comprehensive program. We offer customized courses, certified trainers, and hands-on labs for both individuals and businesses. Our standout features? Bespoke training, fully configured servers for practice, in-house materials, and a dedicated LMS. Plus, get session recordings and 24/7 support. From functional to technical modules, we have got it all. Choose ZaranTech for SAP training and watch your team excel. Learn, upskill, succeed with ZaranTech.
So this is something which we need to think about when it comes to migration of to S/4HANA. At the end of the day, they need to ensure that the customer impact they are making every day is increased. And then that is something a customer takes whenever he buys any product from the store. So, I mean, if we talk about multiple business cases which are available for migration, like from an SAP architect or enterprise architect standpoint, this becomes crucial again because we need to ensure that the new S/4HANA system is equally capable of doing the capabilities which we used to do in ECC. But then again, it is in an enhanced way. So from an architect standpoint, we need to ensure that like there is no disruption in terms of how we used to operate, and then if there are any challenges which can be expected to come. So this is something from an architect standpoint that we need to be prepared for it. We need to understand, we need to work with, if required, with multiple teams in order to understand that what kind of things are they expecting from an S/4HANA system. Like if they are migrating to an S/4HANA, what all things will not work there, what all things will new capabilities will be introduced. So this is something which we need to be prepared for as well. And then apart from that, once we get the new system, whether it is a green field or a brown field, so this is something which from an architect standpoint, we are the first people who will get access to the system. So we need to ensure that we are doing a proper analysis of the new system which we get, and then accordingly we need to decide on the next point. So from an architect standpoint, we need to ensure that we are prepared to start working on the new system. We are prepared for all the new things, all the new kind of errors which may come in. So yeah, so many things will be new. So it is not something that you need to be aware of everything. So as in when you start working on it, you'll get a different kind of issues. Some of them may be directly handled by you because this was a security thing and then you had to manage. Some of them may look like a security again, but this would be something which is missing due to other teams' issues, and then we need to ensure that we try to point it in a right direction. So this is something which we need to be prepared of whenever we plan the migration to S/4HANA. So if we talk about some of the major benefits for migration to S/4HANA, is your better integration, your fast and more powerful database, and it will enable your business transformation in an effective way. So as we talk about better integration, so as I mentioned earlier, so the ECC systems were not capable of integrating directly with the cloud apps which are available, even with the SAP proprietary apps. Like it was not that efficient to migrate or integrate with the cloud apps which are available. So if I talk about say GRC itself, so we had only I think one ready to connect connector was SuccessFactors, which was also introduced later in the stage. So apart from that, there was no other connection available directly to connect your ECC systems to your S/4HANA systems or the cloud applications which are available. So that was something which is definitely a benefit when we talk about the S/4HANA systems which we are getting these days. So they'll provide you better integration capabilities. They'll provide you real-time analytic experience when it comes to connecting your S/4HANA system. Say if your S/4HANA is connected with your SAP Analytics Cloud, then your SAP Analytics Cloud basically is a product by SAP which allows you to prepare the reports, the stories, and on a real-time basis. And then if your S/4HANA is connected, so all your backend data will be stored on your S/4HANA. And then as soon as any business end users tries to prepare a model, tries to prepare a story. These are the things which we can do in the SAC. So they can just get the data directly from S4HANA and then use that data, create an intuitive model which they want to present next day to the client or next day to their business team. So all of this is possible. So this is one of the example which I can say. Then all your like the authentication mechanisms from cloud identity services, identity authentication services, all of it is directly we can leverage it. And these are the some of the examples of integration which we can think about. So yeah, these all are possible because the S4HANA has those capabilities, and then ECC used to lack on those, and that's the reason there was a proposal to move to S4HANA in order to ensure that we get these kind of benefits. We talked about some faster and more powerful database. So in ECC, there was a choice for multiple databases to be plugged in, and it was not my HANA database was not that mature enough that time. So once the SAP made sure that their SAP HANA database is secure and then it is powerful enough to be made mandatory. So again, that was something which was made mandatory for S4HANA systems to be used. So now we have S4HANA DB, which is available, or HANA DB, if we say, and then it can be readily plugged in with your S4HANA, and then it enables you an efficient storage mechanism and efficient speed mechanism. So overall, your entire productivity of S4HANA systems basically increases. Next comes your business transformation. So yeah, if we talk about technical transformation, migrating to ECC to S4HANA, taking care of all the technical things. So similarly, from a business standpoint, all your business data, all your business processes which are structured, all your workflows which are made in ECC, they all are also seamlessly getting migrated to S4HANA. And S4HANA is providing an efficient platform for those business processes as well to be start working there as in when they get migrated. There are few bits which you need to take care of so that, yeah, because all the things are not being supported by S4HANA. So from a business standpoint, what all things can stop working when it comes to S4HANA is something which, and from a functional standpoint, the analysis will happen. From a business standpoint, also it will happen. And then, yeah, we need to ensure that if there is anything from a security standpoint, we need to take care of in order to deliver that. We are taking that into consideration. Any queries? Anything which you want to talk about till now? Okay, let's move ahead. So next comes your strategy recommendations for your enterprise workflow. So when it comes to the strategy recommendations, is something which initially SAP launched, because at that time your SAP Rise and SAP Activate was not mature enough to be launched in the market. So they had this various strategy recommendations which initially they were telling the clients to go for. So we have like a web platform workflow was there, cloud platform workflow was there. Then SAP BPM is something which was available. So if we try to dig deep into those, so BPA basically stands for your business process analysis. So before implementing any enterprise workflow, it's again recommended to ensure that all the business processes are analyzed. What all business processes are happening currently in your system? What all things do you plan to take from ECC to your S4HANA system? Are you taking it everything from ECC to S4, or you are planning to have some other product, be it a SAP product or non-SAP product? So that's something which the analysis needs to go in. So that is one of, like, based on that, again, your strategy is to be proposed. So we need to ensure that we are taking that into consideration, that what all business processes will be migrated directly to S4HANA and what all business processes will not migrate, or any new business processes will come in. So that will basically decide your recommendation in terms of your business process analysis. So this is something which we need to take care of when it comes to your BPA or the business process analysis. So there can be various constraints and the various complexities at which the business processes were designed in ECC. So we need to understand that what all bits will stop coming in from a security perspective to S4HANA. And then we try to ensure that we raise it as a flag initially, and then we try to make sure that we are recommending them the right way to do it. Yeah, that's about the business process analysis. And next comes your integration and system landscape. So as we know that now we'll have initially in ECC also, we can have ECC like SAP systems and non-SAP systems also working in sync. So whenever we plan to migrate it to S/4HANA, we need to ensure that your SAP and non-SAP systems, if they all of them now are planned to be moving to S/4HANA, then what all things are capable which can be moved directly to S/4HANA? Is there anything which directly from SAP also we can't have everything which is enabled? So from a non-SAP standpoint also, we need to ensure that the if we plan to integrate those things with S/4HANA, so we need to ensure that the right kind of APIs are available, right kind of configuration settings which were required for non-SAP system to connect with the ECC system previously. Is it allowing you to connect with the S/4HANA system also? So we need to ensure that we are assessing any integration support required for S/4HANA in a efficient way previously. So this will help us basically in deciding that what kind of strategy we need to adopt. So when it comes to ECC, there can be your CRM systems, SRM system, and then any third-party applications as well, which will be available. So we need to ensure that the correct integration strategy is aligned with the overall architecture and the future roadmap which the client is planning. So if the client is planning to have more and more cloud applications in scope, then the strategy would be different for him. And then if the client is planning to reduce the cloud applications, go for more of on-premise only in the next 5 to 10 years, then the kind of strategy for that client to go for would be different. We need not spend more on the cloud related APIs, cloud related to be architecture. So that's something which differs from every client to client. So we need to ensure that we are taking that into consideration. Next comes your user experience and adoption. So yeah, for the success of any migration, this is the most critical bit, that your entire user experience and the adoption by them should be successful. So, and then the transition should happen in a way that we are taking care of these things in an efficient way as well. Because if you migrate it to S/4HANA and then there is no proper training given to the end users who will be using the actual product as in when it migrates and the production system is ready for them to be used. So this again will be a concern if the users are unable to work on their regular activities, because from a layman standpoint or an end user standpoint, like, well, whatever you do in the back end, that is not something which they are cared about. I mean, their main thing is their business should keep on running. So how the user experience is evolved, how they are adopting to the new thing is something which we need to ensure with the right kind of training which we provide. So we need to ensure that any stakeholders which are involved in order to train the users, in order to ensure that they are using the new capabilities in the right way. First of all, are they aware of the new capabilities which are coming in? So all of it is something which will fall in your user experience and adoption. So we need to ensure that this is taken care of, and then this is not something which goes on missing when we try to do all the technical bits. Next comes your monitoring and optimization. So we need to again ensure that though our ECC systems were running ECC 6.0, 5.0, or maybe the less, I mean, though the monitoring mechanism was enabled for them. So even in S/4HANA, we are enabling the monitoring function in an effective way, and then the kind of optimization which the S/4HANA allows. So this is something which we again need to take care of. We need to ensure that the continuous monitoring is there in place. We need to identify any improvement areas, any optimization areas which can be possible. So like there are things which SAP addresses on a timely basis, and then this is possible only because the clients are giving that kind of feedback. So when I talk about clients, it is us who is using the SAP and then who is trying to pitch it for the client to use SAP in an effective way. So if there are few bugs which are not available to be fixed by any of the nodes or any of the future releases, so that is something which we need to raise it to SAP. And then that is how SAP usually comes up with new kind of optimizations. And then it will help your system to become more and more cleaner, more and more efficient. So yeah, so this is how we need to ensure that we are working on any optimization and monitoring capabilities for SAP S/4HANA. So yeah, this is basically a graph, you can say, which we basically will try to understand in an effective way, that whenever it comes to migration options, so what all are the things that we need to think about, and then what can be the approaches, and then if it is aligning, if its client is wanting to go for some kind of strategy, then are we asking them the right kind of questions? And if those right kind of questions are covered, then based on how the client answers us, like what kind of approach should we take, how do we need to think of, is something which this entire graph talks about. So before moving to this, any queries, anything which you want to talk more about? Because from here it would be like a deep dive into the migration options which are available. And I think next we have an overview of greenfield, brownfield, and then a deep dive again into dedicated to greenfield, etc. So any questions still here?
No, we are good, sir.
Okay. Yep. Thanks. We can start. So discussing the migration options for the existing workflows. So this is basically an important strategy because this will help us in analyzing that what kind of workflows should we enable for the client in the SAP S/4HANA, because all the existing workflows which they would have designed in their landscape. So we need to ensure that those kind of workflows are the starting point for us to ensure that we are taking the right approach in suggesting the migration strategy for the client. So here, if we look at this graph, so it basically starts with your custom workflow or your ECC workflow, which is enabled. So first of all, we need to take care of that. Are the workflows flexible enough to be optimized in a way that they can be used in S/4HANA? If it's a yes, then that is something which is good for us, and then based on that we can go ahead and then we can try to come up with a right kind of implementation strategy, whether it is greenfield, brownfield, etc. And if the customized workflow is not flexible enough, and then it is, based on the S4 scenarios, whatever we have available, if that is not covered in that, we have the different kind of scenarios, standard scenarios, which SAP already has, which we'll see further in the RISE methodology as well. So if there is a no, then why that was created in a way that there was no possibility of customizing it further or making it more flexible. So whether it was a business need which was there, or it was due to poor consulting, or it was due to poor technical bits which were done for that workflow. So that is something which we need to do. And if we found out that okay, it was due to a business need, so this would be something which we can then further proceed. But then again, if this was not due to a business need and it was done due to a poor work or not the right kind of work delivered during the ECC environment, so we next need to retire it, and then we need to start thinking of creating a new flexible workflow for the client. But if it is due to a business need and then it still needs to be taken care of, then that is something which we'll again need to work with the different kind of teams in order to ensure that that workflow again is taken forward to SAP S/4HANA. And again, since that workflow can't be flexible and then it can't be optimized, so we need to build it from fresh, but then it needs to align with the similar kind of things which was there in the ECC itself. Then once you have decided that okay, you need to move to S/4HANA, so what's next? Whether you need to go for S/4HANA on-prem or S/4HANA cloud. So this is the two major software as a service offerings which we saw in the previous slides as well, that either you can go for S/4HANA on-prem or S/4HANA cloud. And when it comes to cloud, again, you have your public and private, that's separate. But here in this slide, we'll just call both of them as S/4HANA cloud. So is it cloud or on-prem? That's something which needs to be discussed. So if you plan to go for S/4HANA cloud, then initially you had something called as the cloud platform workflow, which was available. So you had to adopt to that all the required kind of retesting, the pre-configuration, the post-configuration. So all of them were available in the cloud platform workflow. So that was something which the client can go for if he chooses the SAP S/4HANA cloud. And if he chooses the SAP S/4HANA on-prem, then again, is it something which will have like multiple systems will be available, or you'll have a single system for SAP S/4HANA? If you're trying to go for only single system, then you need to ensure that the kind of workflows which are available, those are flexible workflows which are created in the system, and this will ensure that any new kind of upgrades which are coming in, so your workflows are able to adapt to that. And then if you're going for, we basically call it cross system, if that's the case. And then in that case, we need to ensure that your business processes is something which is taken care of in dedicated systems. So basically, the need for different systems would be because of multiple business processes which are there for the client. So if your business processes are taken care of and it's a cross system, so cross system also, there can be a scenario of on-prem and cloud both. So there can be few bits which are on the cloud, few things they want to still continue on on-premise. That's why they opted for it. So again, when it comes to cross system, all that analysis needs to go in. And then if your business processes is taken care by a dedicated system, different business processes, we need to ensure that those are covered as well. And then if there is a mixture of cross system, as in the on-premise and cloud, again, for cloud bits, your SAP Cloud Platform workflow is something which you need to advise the client on. So that's how your either single system or cross system is basically analyzed. So the recommendation is to go for single system itself, so that again you do not end up in maintaining of multiple ECC systems. Similarly, if you'll need to maintain the multiple S4 systems again, it will be something which is an overhead which you are taking care. But again, it depends from different client to client that how are they looking for it, how do they want to proceed with the new S4 HANA systems. So next comes your basically your investment into your Fiori, that how do you plan to do it. If it's your cloud platform way, then that is something which is taken care within that only. But if it's your on-premise, then you definitely need to have a strategy to ensure that your Fiori implementation is done in an effective way. So you need to ensure that your migration to S4 and your SAP Fiori, if I say, so that is taken care of. Because again, here in S4 HANA on-premise, either we'll need to decide whether we are going for the embedded scenario or the central hub scenario. And likewise, we need to have our SAP Fiori practices enabled. If it's a central hub, then for your multiple S4 HANA systems, there will be only one Fiori system. And if it's embedded Fiori, then for every SAP S4 HANA system, you'll have different Fiori boxes which are available. So that is something which we need to think about when it comes to your S4 HANA on-premise. And when it comes to S4 HANA cloud, so depending whether it's a private cloud or public cloud, that will be something which is taken care in the cloud platform workflow itself. So this is how we need to start thinking when it comes to migration. So starting from business processes and ensuring that talking first about the flexibility of it. If it's flexible enough, we are good. If not, then yeah, all these things we need to think about. So for this, and ensuring that this process doesn't become complicated enough, and then we end up asking a lot of questions to the clients and then trying to recommend strategies. SAP then came up with the Activate methodologies and the RISE methodologies, which we'll talk about. So it will simplify this entire scenario, which was initially quite complex, as we saw. So all of it would be more clearer, and then we'll have step-by-step instructions for different phases, that how will you basically proceed with each of the phase, and then what kind of things you need to ensure that you are doing in that phase in order to ensure that the migration from your ECC to S4 HANA cloud or S4 HANA on-prem is done in an effective way. So any queries in this? Anyways, we'll be talking more about the steps which we discussed once we go on to the respective section. But yeah, I mean, this was something which was available previously when SAP didn't had any methodologies, any dedicated methodologies which were available. So based on that, this was some kind of standard thing which they initially wanted to come up with. And then the clients were doing it for many years. But then, yeah, SAP was working on preparing some standard methodologies, and then came the SAP Activate and the SAP RISE, which we'll see. So this is the SAP Activate methodology in glance, if you see. So these are the different kind of phases which are available. So it starts basically from your discover phase, then it goes on to your prepare phase, then explore, then we go to realize, where the actual explore and realize, I mean, these are the two phases which we'll talk in detail as well. But these are the two phases where your extensive testing will happen, your continuous migrations and innovations will happen. So explore and realize, these two phases you'll be spending the majority time on whenever it comes to your deployment or your migration from ECC to S4 HANA. Then finally, your deploy phase is something which would be ready once your all the testing is done and then you are ready to ensure that your system can be deployed or migrated now. So there comes your deploy phase and then finally run. Run is nothing but your go live and the system at the actual end users experiencing the S4HANA as compared to ECC which they were doing. So yeah, this is in short the activate methodology. If I just try to sum it up in a 1 minute way, if I can say. But yeah, in different phases, different kind of activities are supposed to happen. So what all are those activities is something which we will see. So basically this slide here we are talking about the greenfield implementation or the new implementation. So here basically whenever we talk about greenfield or the new implementation, it refers that you are not carrying away your same ECC system to your new S4HANA system. So it will basically be like the approach would be to start afresh, start as a clean system, and then do the next subsequent upgrades in your new system itself. So all your legacy data, all everything, if you whatever you want to take care, you need to take it, and then you need to ensure that you are migrating that. But it is not like your same ECC system will be upgraded. It will be like a fresh system which you want to go for because of different kind of methodologies or strategies which will go in for choosing this kind of approach. But yeah, the greenfield is something which refers to you getting a new system and then it's not just a normal upgrade. So you need to plan it out. You need to ensure that you have right kind of people available in your team for different kind of areas who are ensuring the new system which you are migrating to is prepared in a way that it ultimately helps the end users at the end to start working on and then to experience the new features which are the S4HANA is providing. So this entire approach basically provides the opportunity to redesign any processes as well. So you would have a lot of processes which are running in the ECC for quite some time, and then there was not much of the tools available or the opportunity was not there in order to redesign those processes. So this is definitely would be an opportunity which you can have in order to redesign the processes and optimize the system according to the best practices which are proposed by SAP. So as I said, it is basically recommended for organizations that want to start with a clean system or have a significant improvement in the processes which they have implemented from quite some time. So that's where the greenfield implementation or the new implementation will assist you. So next comes your landscape transformation or your implementation with data migration. So this basically is a combination of your both, we can say the greenfield and the brownfield. So brownfield we'll talk about more as well. But brownfield basically refers to just upgrading your ECC system to the S4HANA system. So here you are not going for completely new, like we talked about in terms of greenfield. But yeah, it's just migrating or just upgrading, not migrating here, I would say, from ECC to S4HANA. But then this landscape transformation is something which is a combination of both. So here for like few systems in your ECC landscape, which you want to upgrade it to directly to the cloud. So that can be falling in your system conversion. So your system conversion means few system which you want to upgrade and then not have it directly in the new system. But then there can be cases where you want to make sure that there can be few systems which you want to upgrade to a new system itself and then don't want to carry the overhead which you had in ECC. So for them, you can split it up. You can have your new implementation as well as your system conversion so that your move to cloud is in an effective way. So it's not a mandatory thing that if you try to upgrade a system by choosing the brownfield, so then another system in your client landscape needs to adopt to that because each system will behave in an independent way. Each of the business stakeholders, the multiple business stakeholders will have their own approach. So some of them would want to opt for HANA private cloud. Some of them would want to opt for public cloud. Some would like to go for the on-premise version as well. So there can be different strategies for each of the different systems, if I say from a technical standpoint, but different businesses, we can say from a business standpoint, even if they belong to the same brand. So if I take an example of like the recent project which I finished was for this booking.com. So booking.com has the various brands under it. I mean, your Agoda is part of booking.com. your price line is part of booking.com. So all of them, though they are part of booking.com, but all of them basically choose to move to cloud or move to S4HANA in a different way. So few of its entities basically choose the on-prem way because they were feeling they are not ready enough to move to cloud. And then some of them wanted to go for S4HANA private cloud. So I can't name the entities directly that which entity chose what. But then, yeah, I can say that they chose a different approach. And then based on their different approaches, we had to plan out the different kind of strategies for each one of them because again, all of it is significantly different. And then the kind of tools which we need to use, the kind of security practices we need to adhere to, not entirely different, but then, yeah, it becomes different when we think of transforming any system to a new system or just upgrading your old system to a new system. So, yeah, there can be different challenges for each one of them. But again, this is something which can be done. So, depending on whether you want to go for full brownfield, full greenfield, or a mixture of greenfield and brownfield, all of it is available. So depending on how the client wants to go for it, that can be chosen. So yeah, this is your landscape transformation or your new implementation with data migration, yep, as we call.
What sets ZaranTech apart in SAP corporate training? It's our unique blend of expertise and innovation. We offer customized courses tailored to each client's needs, ensuring relevant, targeted learning. Our vast trainer database brings you wisdom from the best in the field. Need resources? Access our extensive training material repository anytime. We are all about measurable results, providing detailed student metrics to track progress. And we don't just teach, we build community. Join our thriving social media network, connecting learners beyond boundaries. With ZaranTech, you are not just training, you are transforming your SAP expertise.
Let's start with the Fiori apps library and then what all things you need to take care here when we talk about any Fiori application for the respective version where our SAP system is aligned to. So I think as of now, all of us know, right? I mean, how we can come to this Fiori apps library or any queries from anyone that how you can go to this, how you can come to this. Is it clear to everyone that how you can get to this website? Anyone who doesn't know that how we can come to this website or anything you want to know before we move ahead and diving deep into this? So yeah, once you come here in the Fiori apps library, as we talked about previously, one thing you have is the all apps. So all apps means irrespective of whether they are your legacy apps, your lighthouse apps. Lighthouse apps means nothing but your old Fiori apps which were available previously. So all of them will be available here. So I won't recommend you to go to all apps and start searching. I'll come to how do I use this Fiori apps library as well. But when it comes to Fiori apps library, one thing you see on the top is the all apps. All apps basically refer to your, whether they are your legacy apps, your S4HANA private cloud apps, your public cloud apps, business suite apps means your ECC apps. So all of them will fall under that. So you'll be having that. Then comes your all apps for S4HANA. So S4HANA refers to your S4HANA private cloud here or the on-premise version as well, we can say. So because for on-premise S4HANA and the private cloud S4HANA, they both refer to same thing. I mean, they are using the same kind of Fiori apps when it comes. So once you come here, you'll have again your all apps, but those all apps will be the ones which can be used only for SAP S4HANA. So you can go here, you can select any of your app and then try to see that what kind of features are available for each of the apps, what kind of compatibility is it there. So if we talk about our GRC related apps, if I take an example, so let's search for GRC. So when it comes to GRC, I think we have some dedicated access approver apps as well. So let me just try to search for the access approver. Not getting it here. All app for HANA. We should have, let me think of a GRC app which I recently worked on. It should be an app called as, let me search with access. Okay, they might have removed it or trying to come up with something new. So
you can give us GRC
let's take
access.
the access, right?
Access approval.
Yeah, it's like usually used to come here. Yeah, access approver, I remember. We worked on it recently, like a couple of months back. But it's fine. I mean, I just wanted to show you that we have dedicated GRC apps as well, which are available. Or let me just try to search for Fiori apps, maybe. Okay. Not sure. So yeah, we can, I think, go for any of the app for now. So yeah, as we see that this particular app is your chemical inventory reporting, and here we talked about that we'll have your line of businesses in which this particular app is applicable. We talked about whether it's a what kind of app it is. So wherever you see reporting word, the overview word, or analysis word, so all of this would mean that it's an analytical app. So currently this is chemical inventory reporting. So it is referring to it as an analytical app. So it will provide you multiple graphs, multiple kind of pie charts, which can be available, which can be analyzed. So if you look at this product features, you'll have how the look and feel of this app will be. So as in when you want to recommend a client that this app is something which will be beneficial for him, so you can try to embed this snip as well, or you can try to provide the link to the in-app documentation. But I think, yeah, clients would not usually go through the detailed documentation. But yeah, in a crisp way, how it looks is something which we get for every app is available. Then your database is your HANA database or HANA side by side. So HANA side by side is nothing but your HANA database itself, but it's a different version of it. So these two databases, or the HANA database, is supported by this. Then what all are your device types it supports? So this is something which we can get here. So that comes to your product features. Now let's go to the implementation information. So as we come to implementation information, this is something which will be useful for us, as in when we try to work with the different Fiori applications which are selected by the clients. So first thing which comes is the important SAP notes. So these are the notes which will basically help. I mean, not us. I mean, we can also work on it if there is no basis team involved. But yeah, these are the notes which should have been implemented in the system for this app to function properly. So as in when the SAP releases any Fiori app, they release the subsequent notes also, in order to ensure that that any bugs in the app is fixed, any new updates can be implemented. So you see that there are two kind of servers they are referring to. One is the front end server, they have a separate node. For back end server, they have a separate node. But if it's your central hub, then this can be embedded in your different systems. Like for your front end server, this node is mandatory to be there. For your back end, it would mandatory for that. But if it's an embedded system, all these two nodes would be implemented in your single system itself. So this is about your SAP notes. Then comes your second is your installation. So this is something which we saw in the SAP system as well, which we have got, that when we looked at the installed product versions, so what kind of product version is installed in our system. So currently, if we look at it, we are here. So let's just jump on to what we have. So currently our SAP system is having SAP S423. So for this, as we see, the product version should be SAP Fiori for S4HANA. So our system is currently having this, the SAP system which we have got access to. So these are all the product versions which should be present in your system. So from a basis standpoint, we need to talk to them. If we see that, okay, this is not enabled, so what can we do to ensure that this is enabled for us, in order to ensure that the app works in a smooth way and there is no hindrance in the operation of the app. So apart from that, there are various software component versions also, which we saw in the SAP, that the different software versions were also installed, different UI packs were also installed. So this is something which we need to ensure that it is enabled in our system, so that it supports the seamless working of the Fiori application which we are targeting. So again, we have some front-end components, back-end components. So if you are using a central hub scenario where you have different Fiori boxes and back-end boxes, so this is something which you need to do in two different systems. But if it's again your embedded system, then in that same system, both these components should be installed. We'll go to the system again once I log in there to show you where we check this, so that you also can check it in your respective systems. So let's go there in a bit. Let's go to configuration. So when it comes to configuration, you'll have two type of services which you need to check here. Currently, you can think of it as a prerequisite which you need to do. I mean, what are these services? How to activate this in the system if they are not activated? All of this will be doing a deep dive as well in the system or the SAP system which we have got. But for now, you can just think of it that first is your ICF services or your SAP UI5 application services, we can call it. So you need to ensure that these services are activated in the system. So for this particular app, you see that this is the technical name of the service. So you need to go inside the system, you need to check it whether this service is activated, or if it's not activated, there are two options. Either I will show you how you can activate it on your own itself, but if it's something which from for your particular project your basis team is managing, so you need to just reach out to them once you see that this service is not activated in the system. You need to reach out to them and tell them that this particular service is something you will need to activate so that we can start testing or we can start assigning access to the Fiori application to the users. So this is one service which needs to be activated. And similarly, you have OData service, which is again a critical component when it comes to Fiori apps, because this enables your communication from your front end to your back end and your to the Fiori server. So again, here these are the different services which we see. So we need to check that whether these services are activated in the system. And if not activated, again, either you can activate it on your own. If you are doing that, you have that onus, or just talk to basis team and then get these services activated. So you can just consider this as a prerequisite for any Fiori application to work. You just need to go and check it whether these are active in the system. How to do it, where to do it, the procedure to do it is something which we'll be seeing live in the SAP system itself. And then you see that, you have the SAP Fiori Launchpad, which you need to enable. So that is something which is already done for us. But again, you need to ensure that this is enabled. And then you see App Launcher. So this would be the name which you'll be seeing when you look at that app in the Fiori Launchpad. So this is basically your title or subtitle. I mean, if there is any subtitle available as a standard, it will show it here as well. So the title will appear in bold and the subtitle will appear in small letters or like just a reduced font letters, we can say. So this is your app launcher title, which you will see for that particular app. Then there's something interesting called as target mapping. So we'll come to this as well in detail, but you can currently think of it as an authorization object for a T code. So similarly, like you have an auth object for a T code, similarly you have a target mapping for a Fiori app. So this will basically decide what level of access you will provide for that particular Fiori app. Since this is an analytical app, so analytical apps usually have display access. So you're not seeing any date or execute or delete these kind of semantic actions. But if we look at any of the transactional apps, we can open it. I mean, any example I can take. So in that, you'll see some further semantic actions such as display, execute, delete, or whichever is applicable for that particular Fiori app. So that's your target mapping. We'll need to ensure that we have the correct target mapping enabled. So that also we will see in the system itself. But since this is an analytical app, so analytical app only has display access. So display actions are only possible in that. So we just have only report inventory right now. So just think of it as an auth object for a T code. Target mapping is to a Fiori app. Then comes your technical catalog. So technical catalog is nothing but like a container, you can say, for all the Fiori apps which are present in your technical catalog. So it basically is like a wider range of access, we can say, because a technical catalog is something which will contain similar kind of Fiori applications and then multiple Fiori applications which should be given to someone who is doing the testing in the initial stages. But again, this is not a recommended approach. So you should try not to give a technical catalog. But then in order to ensure that the limited access is given, this business catalog is another we have feature here which is available. So this particular Fiori app which we are targeting here right now is chemical inventory reporting. So this will be present in your technical catalog as well as in your business catalog. But business catalog will have some kind of restrictions in the count of the apps or the type of the apps which are granted. But the technical catalog is from a technical standpoint, it will have lot of apps which will enable multiple accesses which may not be required for the user itself. So this is not something which we provide to the user. But business catalog is something which you can directly also provide in the role itself. Like both of them basically will be added as part of like a technical catalog or the catalog itself, but the type of access they contain, so technical has much wider access as compared to the business catalog. Also the differentiation you can see in terms of their naming itself. So all the technical catalog will basically start with SAP_TC, whereas all the business catalog will start with the respective module in which those apps are. So SAP_this particularly deals with your health and safety. So this is your SAP underscore EHS. So this is how you can differentiate as well in case you are not sure if you look at the system, like from here, you'll definitely be seeing it directly, that which is a technical catalog, which is a business catalog. But if you see that directly assigned to a role, and then you need to figure out that which catalog was assigned if you are using the standard catalogs directly. So this is how you can differentiate it between those as well. Then we have something new which is introduced recently by SAP. It is called as business group. So business group is nothing but basically it is a container of your various business catalogs. So it will have various type of business catalogs clubbed inside it. So this currently will not be using much because this is not that recommended again. But again, there are few cases where business groups may become helpful. So we'll talk about the pros and cons of these as well. So then, I mean, before the release of spaces and pages, this section was not enabled here. But since the spaces and pages are released now and then they are getting regular upgrades, so you also have a dedicated section for your page and a space. So if you want to ensure that you have a standard page ready, we'll read more about what is a space page as well. But for now, you can just think of it again as a standard way in which the SAP is providing you directly a space which will contain your Fiori app, which we are talking about here, chemical inventory reporting. Similarly, you have a space which you can use. So again, in a standard way, if we try to see, so SAP EHS will be common, and then you'll have for page, it's PG, for space, it is SP. So this is how you'll need to differentiate. So if you look at any space or page, then next comes your business role. So business role is something which can be used in a handy way. So you can just take this role and then assign it to a user. So a user having no access, and then in development, you want to test out this app, and then you don't want to bother about business catalog assignment, the technical catalog assignment, the target mapping. So all of it you won't need to do if you just assign the business role to the user. So if you'll assign that business role to the user, he can directly have access to the Fiori application itself. And then you can try to test it out maybe as a direct way in the development testing if you want to do. So that's how you will need to work it out. So yeah, these are the configuration things. And then all of these things we'll be using day in and day out for each of the Fiori apps we'll be working with. So we need to ensure that we have the right grip of each of these terms. So this was just an overview in how we do it.
What is the best practice? As in we see in ECC, right? We used to create a custom role. So here we see business roles, right? So should we be using the standard business roles or business catalog, or should we create a customizer copy like we used to do in ECC?
So the best practice I would say here would be again to create your custom catalogs only. So what you can do is you can try to take the standard catalogs and then just try to create it in your custom way. But I think this is why we are doing this is because not everything would be required again. So SAP for this EHS app, I mean for this health and safety app, if a client wants only this chemical reporting, this app to be there, and then your standard catalog which you are talking about has like more than that. So then in your standard catalog, whatever the custom catalog you are creating, you can ensure that you are restricting the access to those additional apps. So
right.
Yeah, so the same process here. I mean, you need to create custom, but what is good here is, I mean, you will have many standard apps which will only have the right kind of apps which is required by your client. So in that case, you can just directly create a copy and then you don't need to do any modifications inside that. So that is the advantage which you will find here once you start working with Fiori. But again, I mean, it's not recommended to go directly with standard. It's good to have your own custom catalogs, custom roles. So it is helpful in any modification going on because that is bound to come. I mean, we can't protect that because if any new things come in. So in the standard, you'll again need to depend on the standard and then you can't modify anything. So if we talk about this, so if you look at this space and this page, so this page basically will have your certain amount of apps which are configured and then which will be present inside those page. So if you'll opt for this page, then you can't edit the selection of those pages. So if there are 5 apps which are appearing in this page, and then you want to have only 3, so then you can't do it in this. But if you create a custom version, you can definitely just have only 1 app there. So
got it.
Yeah, so those things are required.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. So yeah, I was talking about extensibility. So extensibility is something which basically is how you can portray So you can say it as an extension to your existing application, which you can do in order to maximize its potential or increase its abilities to do anything. So extensibility, you'll see it in not see it in every app which is present, but yeah, SAP is working on it. And then extensibility and integration, they basically work parallelly. So you can just think of the extensibility as the name suggests, that it will be like an additional function which SAP wants to embed into that Fiori app. But then since it is not applicable to everyone using that Fiori app, so SAP is providing it as an extension which you can use in order to ensure that if you want to leverage those new capabilities or those capabilities in that same Fiori app itself without going for a new Fiori app, then this extensibility option is something which you can opt for. So we'll need to check with the respective extensibility or integration consultants which we have, that how you can embed it in the app. And then if it's a standard way, then also we need to consult with them, because in order to extend it, it is not something which we can do directly from a security standpoint. But yeah, you can definitely go and check it out. And there are dedicated instructions on how you can extend a Fiori app, what all things are possible. So there is a KBA which you can use. So it's a detailed one which you can directly go and try to use, that how you can use it, what all things is possible. So that's about your extensibility. So next comes your support, as in what was the app application component for this, how you can leverage this, and then where it comes in. So if there is any ticket you want to raise in the SAP for this particular Fiori app, there is any issue which you are not able to solve. So every time now for raising any ticket, or these days SAP is calling it cases. So you need to log into me.sap.com. You need to select your respective environment, and then there you need to select this application component. So this becomes helpful in order for SAP to assign you the respective dedicated people who can try to assist you with any of the issues you are facing in this particular application. So that is all about the implementation information, what all things you can see whenever you look at any Fiori apps. Then last is, but not the least, is your related apps. So any app which you see, be it chemical inventory reporting, be it GRC access approver, access monitor, or mitigation controller. So you can come here and then you can try to see that what all apps are related to those as well. So it will help you, or yeah, you can recommend to clients as well that if they are going with that particular app, then these all apps is something which they can have a look as well, because it provides the similar kind of results or similar kind of functionalities. So that is something which will be helpful for us as well. But from a security standpoint, the main thing is the implementation information which we need to look, and product features is something which we need to guide the users on, or the end users on, that how will the look and feel be of the app will be.